Welcome back to another episode of Flat Earth and Coffee. I am your host, Bobby Thompson, and in this episode, I'm going to give you evidences and proofs that we didn't, in fact, believe the Earth to be spherical for thousands of years. So this is going to be a pretty dry episode. I'll do my best to make it as brief as I can. And without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in. So what is the claim? The claim is we've known that the Earth is a sphere for thousands of years.
Nobody in human history, as far as I know, has thought the world was flat.
So this is a pretty big claim from Brian Cox. Apparently he's never read a history book. I would have thought that a college degree, or at least high school, or maybe even some elementary school would be a prerequisite for having a syndicated show in the UK. So we get this argument from science educators, from not only Brian Cox, but Neil deGrasse Tyson, from Bill Nye the Lion Guy, from Michelle Thaler, from Sabina Hasenfelter, from Professor Dave, from Simon Dan. It's really not a big list. It's a small group of people that keep saying the same thing. We've known for thousands of years, and I contend that we haven't. So that's all I set out to prove in this video. Let's jump right in. The facts are they're all smoke and crack. And I'm going to start with the first cosmology, the first civilization, which is the Sumeria. You may see the term Mesopotamia if you search for the first civilization. Sometimes you'll get Sumeria. Sometimes they'll come back Mesopotamia. We could, for the most part, use those two terms interchangeably. All Sumerians are Mesopotamians, but not all Mesopotamians are Sumerians. So Sumer was a smaller geographical region inside of Mesopotamia, but thought to be the cradle of civilization. This is just talking about some of the different periods in the Sumerian kingdom. Google search, did Sumerians believe the earth to be flat? Ancient Mesopotamians regarded the sky as a series of domes, usually 3, but sometimes 7, covering the flat earth. So yeah, we'll check off Sumer. So at least now we know what our beginnings were. And let's go ahead and move on. Now, we're going to go alphabetically now. I'm going to try to go A to Z as quickly as I can, starting off with Akkadian. What did the Akkadians believe? Well, this is what Google returns as Akkadian Cosmology in Google Images. And if we do a search for Akkadian Cosmology, Wikipedia brings up this page, which reroutes you to ancient Near Eastern cosmology. And this is a basic cosmological belief shared by the Macedonian Empire, by Babylonia, Sumer, Akkad, Levantine, Western Semitic, Ugarit, ancient Israel, Judah, Egyptian cosmology, ancient Egyptian cosmology, Anatolian, Hittites, Jewish cosmology, patristic cosmology, Islamic cosmology. So again, this cosmology, all these people, this all falls under ancient Near Eastern cosmology. So in this article, it's being recognized that all of these people believed in a flat earth cosmology. Here's a depiction of Mesopotamia's image of the world, following the path that Gilgamesh takes in the Epic of Gilgamesh, but typically a firmament above the flat earth, the mountains surrounding the ends, the waters above and the waters below. This is a very common belief. Now, what about Aztec cosmology? What did the Aztecs believe? The Aztecs believed they occupied a position between systems of 13 heavens and 9 underworlds. So it'll go on as we go further that you'll see that they shared beliefs with the Mayans and the Incans, but you can't have an upper and lower. You can't have heavens and hell below on a sphere. It doesn't work, because where's that going to put hell? If there's a bottom, but it goes all the way around, you're putting hell and heaven in the same place, right? But we're going to prove it. We're really going to drive the point home. If you just Google Aztec cosmology, the universe consisted of 3 layers. The middle layer was the earthly one, inhabited by humans. Above that world, the Aztecs imagined 13 levels or heavens, the Omeyocan, the place of duality, being the uppermost. And below the earthly layer, there were 9 levels of the underworld. So I'm going to give the Aztecs, the flat Earth check. What about Babylonian cosmology? This is what comes up when you search Babylonian cosmology under Google Images. And if you Google, did Babylon believe the Earth to be flat? The ancient Babylonians viewed the universe as a flat disk of land surrounded by water. This is the first result that comes up. This coming from Northern Arizona University. Okay, I think we can check them off safely. What did Buddhists believe? Did Buddhists believe the Earth was flat? According to Lopez, again, this is the first result in Google. The human realm that Buddhist texts describe is a flat Earth. Okay. What about Celtic cosmology? If you do a search for Celtic cosmology, this is an image that'll come up. Again, very similar to Norse and Germanic and other cosmologies that would feature a tree of life here. They just got a bunch of trees here. You've got this kind of a middle, the earthly realm inside of an egg. And what did the Celts believe about the Earth? That the human Gales and the pagan gods was resolved by, there was a conflict between them, resolved by splitting space up between them, with humans taking the surface of the Earth and the gods being given the mounds directly under the such and such. We go here, exploring Celtic CIV, which is I don't know what this place is, UNC University of North Carolina.edu, I'm assuming here. The Celts believed that the sky was held up above the earth by pillars. And these pillars are often visualized as trees or massive columns. Again, this is the same belief system that the Germanic and the Norse share, where you have a massive column, where you have the tree of life, and you have the earthly realm. You have Midgard, you have Jotunheim, you have Niflheim. What did the Chinese believe? Well, did ancient Chinese know the Earth is a sphere? Chinese believe the Earth to be flat and square. That's the first result in Google that came from stackexchange.com. How did ancient China view the world? Based on belief in the nature-people correlation, a uniquely emphasized concept in ancient Chinese culture. The term all under heaven, or Tianxia, was used by the people to refer to the world. And Tianxia, if you look up Tianxia cosmology, it's this, which is a typical flat Earth map, right? And even though they show it, they had a hard time merging 2D with 3D. But the way most map creators would do this, they would show the earth, the water around the Earth, but it would clearly have an up and a down. And at the top, you have this tree here. Again, it's incorporating this tree of life here. But you had waters around that encircled all the land. I added this because I was doing research for Egyptians or in Egypt, and I said, did Egyptians believe the world to be flat? And it came back with the ancient Chinese believed the Earth is a flat, square shape surrounded by heaven. So that just happened to have come up. This is the Olive School of Hackney. But let's go further. What about the Yuan dynasty? During that dynasty, they had something called the Manichaean diagram of the universe, which included a flat Earth cosmology, which again, you have this tree of life again, and you got layers of heaven, you got the underworld, again, the Manichaean diagram of the universe. And the Chinese taught several models. The Gai Tian model was a hemispherical dome with a flat Earth. You had the Hun Tian model, which was a celestial sphere, right, with a flat Earth, and you had the Xuanyi theory, which was an infinite flat Earth. But all flat Earth models, these are all taught throughout China. And I found it interesting. I found this on Britannica.com, which is a well-known, used to be the preeminent encyclopedia set that everyone kept at their houses in the 70s and 80s. Different descriptions of flat Earth can be found in the annals of ancient civilizations worldwide. For example, ancient Egyptian and Mesopotamian records describe the world as a disk in the ocean. And it goes on to say Babylonians, the center of a flat Earth. Greek philosopher Anaximander perceived Earth as a flat disk perched on top of a cylinder. Earth's flat, plain encircled by an ocean with a world tree or pillar in the center. India, sacred text described the planet as a series of flat disks. In China, Earth was described as flat and square into the 17th century. What happened to your thousands of years? Now we're at the 17th century. China believed it. Buddhists believed it. What about Chinese Taoism? This is now we're getting into like a religious sect of China, right? Taoists believed in a god, or what now they'll call a mythical being called Pangu, He was a primordial being, and he held up the firmament. He held up the heavens and separated them from earth so that humanity could live in that, which is very similar to ancient Israelite cosmology and sounds a lot like the story of Atlas, which in some renditions of Atlas is holding up the firmament. But in more modern renditions, they've converted that to he's holding up the world, right? Again, more about Pangu, you can read this. But moving on to Egyptian cosmology, absolutely, as we saw on Britannica.com, they said Egyptians believe the Earth to be flat. This is just backing it up with this very common. If you've looked into, you don't even have to look into flat Earth. If you've looked into Egypt, you've seen this relief or this drawing, which depicts a flat Earth with Geb as the Earth god below and Nut being the sky goddess above, being stretched out by Shu. And then you have the river, the sky, but yeah, absolutely. You had the Duat below, the underworld. Going back to Encyclopedia Britannica, referencing that again. Sorry, guys, it's been a long day. For example, ancient Egyptian and Mesopotamian records describe the world as a disk in the ocean. A disk. Okay, so there's no disputing. Egyptians believed the world to be flat. What about Ethiopians? Well, it should be no surprise. They're an Abrahamic religion, as all Abrahamic religions believe. This coming from just one source I took. This coming from this book right here, which is research. Did some research on Ethiopian cosmology. According to the traditional church teachings, the Earth is flat. Therefore, unlike common cosmologies, the illustrations do not show a circular setting of the globe. Now, here's the problem. I don't like this verbiage. I won't go too far into it, but they always got to poison the well. Unlike common cosmologies. What common cosmologies? Of their time, there certainly weren't any that were. Heliocentrism was completely uncommon. As a matter of fact, you would be persecuted up until up until the 1700s, and I'm going to prove that. So let's, for brevity's sake, let's keep moving along. Greek cosmology. This coming from Wikipedia.org. All models of early Greek cosmology shared the following 5 elements: a solid sky or firmament, high ridges at the rim of the flat Earth, the sun being close to the Earth when it sets and rises. Okay, so at least Wikipedia admitted that all models of early Greek cosmology shared the following 5 elements. All right, moving on to Finnish cosmology. This coming from Wikipedia.org, Finnish mythology. See, I like how what they do is they take history, and because science has today told us what's true, and we can just turn everything else into mythology. Not that it was an actual belief, it just becomes mythology. Well, what is mythology? It means they believed it, right? They weren't teaching their kids, hey kids, here's a story, it's not true. It's what they believed. Did Finnish believe the Earth to be flat? The Finns believed that the Earth was flat like a disc. Okay. What about the Germanic tribes, right? This is a representation. If you search for Germanic cosmology, that'll come up. They had the same belief as what the Norse believed. You'll see Jotunheim, you'll see Niflheim, you'll see Muspel, you'll see the dragon at the bottom, the tree of life, Asgard at the top where the gods lived. And this is another representation of that. Again, you'll see this tree of life, you'll see Asgard, you'll see Niflheim, Hell or Hades, or Sheol, whatever you want to call it. Germanic people, Midgard. Now this is interesting because if I just search, did Germans believe the Earth to be flat? You cannot find an article on Google anymore. You can't. Yet, if you do any searching, if you know what you're searching for and you type Germanic Cosmology Midgard, then you'll come up with articles like in Germanic Cosmology, Midgard, an anglicized form of Old Norse Midgard, Old English Mittengard, Old Saxon blah, 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 the name for Earth. They absolutely believed it, but it's being scrubbed. You have to trick Google because Google will push the results down and in some cases block them altogether. You have to know what you're looking for. Again, circling back to Greek cosmology, I know we already did that. I meant to add in the slide. I put it out of place. Physics.umd, which is University of Maryland.edu, had this course. This is right from this link. This is where I got it. Physics 117. And this is the image, the mythological worldview. They had the ether at the top, the ocean around the flat Earth, Tartarus below, or Hades. So again, just reinforcing here, we have a very reputable Academic Institute, University of Maryland, showing that the Greek believed in a flat earth. This was the predominant worldview at that time. What about Hindus? If you do a search for Hindu cosmology, you'll come up with images like this, which show a flat earth with all these different, you can call them eggs, whatever you want, bands, layers around it. There's some more images that come up. This out of a book here, this just being what someone drew from their understanding of it. But if we just Google, did Hindus believe the earth was flat? This coming from Quora, what is the shape of the earth as per Hindu scriptures? The Bhagavad Gita conclusively proves that the earth is flat. Why then does Western science disagree? This being obviously, at least in my opinion, someone that's studying the Bhagavad Gita and saying, why does modern science disagree with our religion, right? Very concerning. Well, they haven't figured it out yet that science is a liar. What about Hittite? Because not much different from medical science. So what about Hittite cosmology? Well, here is a image of Hittite cosmology that was uncovered, and an international team of researchers has now determined that reliefs represent the cosmos, the earth, heavens, and the underworld, and depict the Hittites' essential creation myth from chaos to order. So this is a relief, or this is a colored drawing of something that they uncovered, and it shows a flat earth, right? Much like the ancient Israelites believed in. You can read more about that here. I didn't underline, so I'm just for brevity's sake, we're going to keep moving because it's already well established. In Microsoft Bing, if you just type in Hittite cosmology, this comes from Ancient Pages. It says examination of a 3,200-year-old carving reveals that the Hittite believed the universe was a multi-layered system composed of 3 levels or realms, including the earth, the surface world, and the sky, the celestial world, and the subterranean world. Starting to be very these 3 layers, right? We see it everywhere. Norse, Germanic, we see it in everything, whether it's Sheol on the bottom, or whether it's Hades on the bottom, or whether it's Niflheim, or whatever it is. We're starting to see a lot of similarities in these cosmologies. What did the Incans believe? Here are some artists has made his rendition of what he believed the Incans from his studying. And this coming from History Stack Exchange Com. Here's the URL at the top. The Inca called their land Tahuantinsuyu, which according to the course notes of Lecture 4 of Astronomy 161 at Ohio State means the 4 quarters of the Earth. This suggests that they had similar views as those of the Aztec and Maya. Page 111, again, this suggests that the Inca also believed the Earth was flat and 4-cornered. Now, this is coming from this web page right here. But we've already established what the Aztecs believed, and we're going to show proofs of what the Mayans believed as well in a little bit. What about Islam cosmology? If you search ancient Islam cosmology, you'll come up with a diagram like this that depicts flat Earth, multiple layers in the top. This coming from Wikipedia, Medieval Islam, all right, I've shortened it obviously, but shape of the earth. Following the Quran, traditionalists advocated the notion of a flat earth and rejected notions of a round earth. Obviously, with mainstream people embracing science and believing that earth is not flat, now these religions are selling out and going back and reinterpreting as round now. They're saying, oh, it was a circle, the circle of the earth. They meant a sphere, right? Even though there was another word for that at that time. Did Islams believe it was flat? Absolutely. This coming from Scholarly Community Encyclopedia. Cosmology, according to Zakaria al-Qazwini, the earth is considered flat and surrounded by a series of mountains. What about Iroquois cosmology, native Indians to North America? You can see here, here's a depiction of what they believe. They have this lady standing on a giant turtle, and then you have the waters below, and you have a firmament or dome, and then you have all the stars, and that's all backed up. You can read this right here, but and you'll see this in different Indian tribes as well. The Lakota believe that. And I'm going to cover a couple more here, but for brevity's sake, I didn't put them all in. We could have had 1,000 slides. I could have kept going, no problem. What did the Israelites believe? Well, if you just type ancient Israelite cosmology, you'll come up with this. You'll see the waters above, the firmament, the waters are below, the pillars or foundations, Sheol below, the oceans that encircle the lands, and you'll see the sun and moon inside the firmament. You'll see the gates of heaven. So this was the predominant, this is what the Israelites believed when they wrote the Bible. This was the common belief system up until easily 1900, which I'm going to prove. When was the Old Testament written? 1200 to 165 BC. I had my reasons for throwing that in. Did the writers of the Old Testament believe the earth to be flat? The Old Testament concept of the earth was very similar, a flat circular earth ringed by a world ocean with fabulous islands or mountains beyond the ends of the earth. That's coming from Biblical Cosmology, Wikipedia. This was the first result in Google. That's the authoritative result. Jaina Cosmology. What is Jaina Cosmology? Also, Jaina, also known as Jainism, is an Indian religion distinct from Hinduism and Buddhism, founded by such and such. But this chart from the 19th century shows the world of human habitation as a central continent with mountain ranges and rivers surrounded by a series of concentric oceans. Did Janus believe the world to be flat? Humans may exist only on a relatively small horizontal terrestrial plane, which is a flat disk. This coming from encyclopedia.com, Jainism. Jinswara, kind of a meetup place for people studying Jainism to share their thoughts on it. This being in a section of the website under Jain Geography, Flat Earth, and Today's Science. Rushi said, can everyone share their thoughts on this topic? I'm getting impression and understanding that Jain scriptures believe in flat earth theory, which runs in contradiction to today's established science that the earth is a spherical planet. Gaurav Jain comes back and says, earth is flat. But when I see all these videos and other things, it becomes unbalanced view for me. So he's questioning his religion, right? But he's still at least giving his religion the benefit of the doubt, it sounds like. And that was from April 2019. This website, medium.com, also written obviously by a Jainist, one essential discovery of Jainism is that the earth is flat. And I like how he worded that, because he said a discovery of Jainism, implying that it's new. Typically a discovery is something new. You wouldn't use that verbiage if it were something that was old. And he goes on to say the earth is flat and it doesn't rotate. Here's the link to that. Here's the link to that up here. So Jainists absolutely believe in a flat earth. What about Korean cosmology? Koreans up until the 18th century believed in I'm going to butcher this until I go to the next page, but this is a visual representation. This is a flat earth map. Again, you'll see this from different cultures around the world. They weren't good at merging 2D with 3D. They didn't know how to show a flat map, but show that you couldn't do it in one map. You know, it'd show a top and a bottom. But this has the world oceans around it, and you have the tree at the top, and you can see the mountains that the top is that way. But did Koreans believe Did Koreans believe the Earth was flat? This coming from the Library of Congress, from a book called "Exploring the Earth: The Early Americas, Heavens and Earth." The map of the world, or Chonhado, was depicted as a flat surface, which was consistent with the Korean belief that the Earth was flat. The Chinese believed it, the Koreans believed it, the Japanese believed it. They all had flat Earth maps. They all believed in flat Earth. Hindus believed it. Taoists believed it. I mean, the medieval, Germanics, Norse believed it. The South, the North Americans believed it. The South Americans believed it. What's left? Who didn't believe in it? What did the Mayans believe? Did Mayans believe the world to be flat? This coming from study.com. Mayans believed that the earth was flat and four-cornered, represented as the back of a massive crocodile resting in a pool of lilies. What did Navajo Indians, just another tribe from North America, what did they believe? This coming from Clemson University, I'd say that's reputable. At first, the earth was flat and very soft and wet. And just to drive the point here, this again, same article that was extracted from. You can go here and read more about it, but basically very similar beliefs as the other tribe that we talked about earlier. Now we're at Norse Cosmology. Norse, just like Germanic, just like Celtic, basically you have the world tree and you have this middle realm here. Did Norse believe the world to be flat? Top result, right from Google. Early Norse mythology describes a flat earth surrounded by an ocean, which sits in the middle of either Yggdrasil's trunk or the world pillar. Here's a new one on me. I reside in the Philippines today, and I did a little bit of research. What is Philippines cosmology? This is a cosmology you'll come up with if you search Philippines cosmology. But let's go further, as are all of these. And these images right here, which all depict a flat Earth, come from a project called the Aswang Project, which is a project that seeks to preserve Filipino beliefs. So yeah, absolutely. Filipinos used to believe the Earth was flat, and very similar to the Norse cosmology. And now let's just run this as quickly as we can through a timeline. And I want to preface it with two short verses here from encyclopedia.com. One reason that the ancients, especially the Greeks, favored a geocentric model. What? One reason that the ancients, especially the Greeks, favored a geocentric model of the universe is that the Earth had great weight. So this from encyclopedia.com saying that the Greeks favored a geocentric model, and there's plenty of evidence proving that they favored a flat Earth model. So at least some places still acknowledge it, although history is being rewritten. This is interesting. Let's go back to 1100, 1200. We're going to walk our way forward. The recovery of Greek and Roman knowledge in Western Europe, as well as the rise of towns and trade routes in the Middle East in the 12th century, led to the rise of universities in Paris, Bologna, and Oxford. Aristotle's corpus of works that were taught in the ancient Lyceum were rediscovered and served as the basis of the university curriculum. His cosmological system therefore became predominant, and Ptolemy's alchemist was also reinstated in astronomical studies. As a result, geocentrism defined astronomy and cosmology in the Middle Ages. So in the Middle Ages, geocentrism was defining. Now, what was the predominant teaching around the world? Well, it was Abrahamic religions. Islam, Ethiopian religions, Abrahamic religions, Christianity, Judaism. They were all teaching flat Earth, and I'm going to prove that as we go further. But they're also admitting that that heliocentrism was not accepted. And let's go further. Let's see when heliocentrism became accepted. Geocentric cosmology dominated the Western thought until the early modern era. Copernicus developed a plausible heliocentric theory in 1512, but circulated it privately and secretly because he was afraid of reaction against him by the Roman Catholic Church. So when they come out and go, oh yeah, Copernicus knew, well, if he knew, which I say is a liar, he hid it and he circulated it secretly. He would have been persecuted for heresy by the church. So no, in 1500, we didn't know either. Where are your thousands of years? Let's move on. Copernicus faced no persecution when he was alive because he died shortly after publishing his book, okay? Why wasn't he persecuted? Because he died shortly after persecution. Now, that just came, right? That's the top result from Google. That's not me. Was Copernicus punished by the Catholic Church? He faced no persecution when he was alive because he died shortly after publishing his book. When did he die? 1543. So in 1543, wasn't a good time to publish a book on heliocentrism. Why? I thought we knew. What happened to the thousands of years? All right, now we're up to 1546. We're really getting into modern times now. 1546 to 1600. This is the life of Tycho Brahe. Another challenge to heliocentrism came in the form of an astronomical system proposed by Danish astronomer Tycho Brahe, who lived from 1546 to 1601. Commonly referred to as Tycho rather than by his surname, Tycho had spent 20 years committed to a systematic observation of planetary motion and created his own model of planetary motion. Tycho's system was basically that of the ancient Greek Heraclides, the halfway house geocentric model in which the sun revolved around the Earth and the other planets revolved around the sun. Nonetheless, geocentric, the sun revolving around a flat, stationary Earth. This coming from Department of Physics and Astronomy from Rochester EDU. Was Tycho Brahe's model accepted? Brahe opposed a model of the solar system that was intermediate between the he proposed a model between the Ptolemaic and Copernican models. It had the Earth at the center it proved to be incorrect. I like how they poisoned the well, but was the most widely accepted model of the solar system for a time. Okay, so now we have an admittal here by an academic institution that Tycho Brahe's system was the most accepted system at the time. That was a geocentric system. So now we're at the 1600s and we're still geocentric. In 1600, Giordano Bruno was tried for heresy by the Roman Inquisition and as a result burned alive for supporting the heliocentric model. I realize that was just a picture, but this comes from encyclopedia.com. This should be a well-known history to most people. During the 1633 Inquisition, the fearful Galileo, who lived until 1642, recalling that another defender of Copernicus, Giordano Bruno, had been burned at the stake by the church in 1600, publicly recanted his own findings and affirmed the church official view that the sun orbited a stationary Earth. Stationary, geocentric, stationary, and flat. They left that part out, but the churches around the world were teaching a flat, stationary, geocentric Earth. Okay. So now we're still at 1600. Again, this is more on Giordano Bruno. Feel free to read about it. What happens in 1616? The Catholic Church issues a prohibition against the Copernican theory. Interesting. The church, we had the Roman Inquisitions. The church was, part of the Roman Empire. That's why it's called the Roman Catholic Church. It was the Abrahamic religions dominated all the religions of the world, and even where they weren't dominant, like Asia, where you had Korean cosmology and Hinduism and Taoism, those were all flat Earth cosmologies. So where is heliocentrism in all this? In 1633, Galileo was prosecuted for his support of heliocentrism. Wow. 1633, we're still flat and stationary. All right, this coming from Lumen Learning, very prestigious learning, but we're going to back it up with more. The older geocentric system was still taught at Harvard University in the first years after it was founded in 1636. So here we have one learning institution saying Harvard was teaching us geocentric Earth. Wow. What does Brainly have to say about that? This coming from Brainly.com. Despite the scientific revolution and the rise of the heliocentric system in the 1690s, many institutions such as Harvard University still taught the older geocentric system. Wow, expert verified answer. So we have admittals that conflict with what we're being told by these science communicators. But let's move into 1758. This isn't so long ago. In what year did the Catholic Church drop the prohibition against heliocentrism? In 1758, the Catholic Church dropped the general prohibition of books advocating heliocentrism. Wow, so 1758 is when the Roman Catholic Church decided. Now, they didn't own the Abrahamic religions. They don't even own people in their church. People can believe whatever they want to believe. They just allowed it. Now, we're moving on to a different section of the video here. I'm just going to present a few videos, 4 videos to be exact. They're just short clips. We're almost at the end, bear with me. It was once common knowledge that we recently believed the Earth to be flat. Okay, let me reiterate that. It was once common knowledge that we recently believed the Earth to be flat. Okay, this coming from a movie called Flaming Star with Elvis Presley, 1960. Let's watch this quick clip.
Hey, sir, his brother. We make him welcome. Speak, anyone.
Kiowa Pacer is true Earth, round like ball. White man live all side.
That is true.
Tell me, why men on bottom not fall off?
Never been there. Maybe they do.
So this movie obviously implying that North American Indians believe the Earth to be flat. This would have been, uncontested by people watching the movie at the time. This would have made perfect sense to them. Like they knew that up until recently, and there was probably people that still believed it. Like Edward Voliva had an entire town or city that was only taught flat Earth in the schools. That was up until the 1900s, like the mid 1900s. There were many institutions still teaching a flat Earth. public school systems. We're going to get to that. Here's another Elvis movie, Clam Bake, 1967.
When everyone thought the world was flat, Columbus said it's round. He went down in history and America was found.
Now, what should upset you about this video is all the new articles, when I searched for did people believe the earth was flat when Columbus sailed? Because what I was taught in high school, as was most people my age and older, and even probably some, few years after me, was that, probably for decades after me, was that everyone opposed Columbus sailing where he wanted to go because they were afraid he was going to sail off the end of the earth. They were afraid he was going to sail off the flat earth. That's what I was taught, right? I was taught that in middle school, and high school. I was taught that. Now, we've all heard that, but now when you do a search for that, it says that this is a lie propagated by the church, that no one believed that. Like, wait a minute, hold on. How did we uncover that as history went further, but we didn't know that 30 years ago, 40 years ago? Where's that proof? I haven't seen that proof. And I think they're just rewriting history. So in 10 more years, in 20 more years, no one will ever have heard that anyone around Columbus's time even thought that. There won't even be a thought because they're just rewriting history because they control academia. Here's a clip from Bonanza. This came out in 1965.
Now, children, I think it's time we learned a little bit more about this earth we live on. But first of all, we have to change our idea that the world is flat. In truth, it is round and shaped like a ball.
That's not what the Reverend told us, Miss Sarah.
Well, even the Reverend doesn't know everything. Now, children.
So for brevity's sake, I'm going to stop it there. It goes on a little bit further, but this lady, now this is set in the 1860s. We'll go forward a slide. So Bonanza was set in the 1860s. This came out in 1965. Nobody watching this would have thought twice about it, right? They would have watched this because people knew. In 1965, people knew because they didn't have the internet brainwashing them that no one's thought that the earth was flat. Everyone knew that we recently thought the earth was flat. It wasn't until the moon landings that people started challenging their beliefs, right? A lot of people held on to the belief that the earth was flat. Now, I want to leave you with this video. I'm just going to play a short clip. I'm going to tell you a little bit about it before I play it. This comes from DITRH, or Deep in the Rabbit Hole. Also known, it's one of David Weiss's YouTube channels. You might also know David Weiss or heard of the Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app. I'm probably butchering that, but I think he should have chose a simpler name. He went into a retirement home, and he asked to speak with the oldest person in the home, and he wanted to ask them what they were taught when they was younger. And he meets this lady, Ruth, who's 102 years old. This was in 2020, which would have made her born in 1918. And she says she was taught a flat earth. So I want you to watch this and tell me, do you think she's a liar, or do you think she was authentic and telling the truth?
All right, tell me your name.
Ruth Heath.
Ruth, and how old are you today?
102.
102. So you were born in
1918.
1918. And we were just talking, and I asked you what shape the Earth is, and what did you say? What were you taught in school in elementary school?
I was taught in school that the Earth was flat.
And then what do you remember when they changed it to a globe?
Well, when they changed it, I remember when they changed it, but I can't remember the date or anything like that.
And did you believe them?
Yes, I did.
You did. Now,
I was young.
Right, and we all were told by people that we trust.
That's right.
Where did you go to school? Elementary school?
I went to Spur Glen School in Hamden, Connecticut. I lived on a farm and grew up with all kinds of animals. No electricity. a big white farmhouse.
Amazing.
And we had to walk to school. We didn't have a bus to take us to school. We had to walk to school and walk home through all bad weather.
So I just want to say, this is somewhat comical here. Just like and subscribe. If you don't, I'm going to hunt you down and ask you to like and subscribe again. Please go watch that video. I think it's one of the most powerful videos. Dave found this lady, Ruth, in a retirement home. Watch the video and see if you think she's being authentic. And ask yourself, if she was being authentic, I mean, there's nothing to ask. It means there were still public schools teaching a flat earth. In I mean, she would have been older than 2, so it would have been after 1920, right? We probably say around 1930. So less than 100 years ago, we were still teaching a flat earth, right? It was still being taught in school systems. I believe this. I believe this to be true. And it's testified to. Okay, there were still communities. Research Voliva, right? There were towns and cities that held out, that fought the tyrannical academia system that came in across the United States and across the world, right? And his whole town only taught flat Earth in school. They didn't allow heliocentrism. They taught a flat, stationary, geocentric Earth. So, do your own research, but for someone to tell you that we've known it's a sphere, or no, that's an absolute lie. No one, we believed it's been flat, geocentric, stationary until recent. I hope you enjoyed the video. Until next time, take care.